Welcome to the Deep Dive. Our mission here is pretty straightforward. We take the material, you send us articles, notes, research, and we really boil it down to the most crucial insights. We want you to get those aha moments, get informed quickly, without feeling like you're drowning in text. So today we're jumping into a topic that honestly feels super relevant, especially with how much the sort of chaotic genius idea gets romanticized. We're calling this one the overlooked practice that transforms creative output. Because you know how it is creative work, it's amazing, but wow, it can burn you out, feeling scattered, stuck, overwhelmed. It almost feels like part of the job description sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. That feeling resonates with so many creators.
Yeah.
We have this image, right? The artist fueled by late nights and sudden inspiration. But the reality,
Right.
it's usually not sustainable, definitely not consistently effective for most people. So what if there's another way? What if you could bring intention and structure into your creative life? Not to kill the spark, but actually to feed it, to make your practice more resilient, sustainable, and ultimately free you up to do your best work more often.
And that's exactly the idea we're unpacking in this deep dive. Looking at how integrating a mindful, structured approach isn't about restriction. It's about creating the right conditions for creativity to really flourish sustainably, powerfully. We'll walk through some really practical ways to build this kind of practice, pulling out the key ideas from everything you've shared with us.
Yeah, let's do it. And maybe the best place to start is, right at the beginning. Before you even type a word or pick up a brush, it's about the foundation, getting your environment and your energy lined up.
Okay, yeah. That already feels like a big one. I mean, how do you even begin to create when your space is messy, your phone won't stop buzzing, emails piling up, the world is just so loud,
Yeah.
Distraction feels like the default setting.
It absolutely does. And that's precisely why the material emphasizes making your external world work for you, not fight against you. So the first really key step, create a dedicated workspace. Sounds almost too basic, right?
A little bit, yeah.
But clearing the physical clutter, designating a specific spot just for creative work, it sends this powerful psychological cue to your brain. It draws a line, tells your mind, okay, creative time now. You can even enhance that signal, make it more intentional. Maybe add a specific plant or a scent or an object that inspires you, something to anchor you when you sit down.
So it's more than just cleaning up. It's like setting a stage, sending a signal to your own brain to switch gears.
Exactly. It's about embedding ritual and intention right into the physical space. And right alongside that, you absolutely have to establish firm technology boundaries. This is probably non-negotiable if you're serious about protecting your focus, which is, let's face it, your most valuable creative fuel.
Definitely.
We're talking practical stuff here. Using website blockers, turning off notifications, really turning them off, not just silencing them, scheduling specific short blocks for email or social media. Your creative energy isn't infinite. The sources are really clear.
Yeah.
You've got to guard it fiercely from those digital interruptions. It's foundational.
Oh, that hits home. Seriously, how many good ideas have just evaporated? Because I thought I'd quickly check one thing online. Too many.
It's the silent killer of deep work, isn't it? And while you're managing the external stuff, the space, the tech's sake, you also need to tune into your internal landscape, your energy. The material talks about designing your energy schedule, which sounds fancy, but it's really about getting smart about your own natural rhythms.
Okay, like knowing when you're sharpest.
Exactly. Becoming really aware of your peaks and dips in focus and creative juice throughout the day. Plan the tough stuff, the complex writing, the deep problem solving for when you're naturally at your peak. Then save the admin, the emails, the less demanding tasks for when your energy is naturally lower.
Right, aligning the type of work with your body's natural energy flow. That just sounds smarter, less like fighting yourself all day.
Precisely. When you work with your energy cycles, not against them, you're not wrestling your own biology. The sources really emphasize how this boosts not just efficiency, but the actual quality of your work. You're using your best brain power when it's actually available.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So we've built the container, set the stage, drawn the digital lines, tuned into our energy. Now what? How do we bring this mindful thing into the actual doing, into the day-to-day work?
All right, this is where we start weaving mindfulness directly into the daily workflow. It's about making intention and presence part of the fabric of your creative day. A really simple but powerful place to start is a morning mindfulness ritual. And look, don't let the word ritual freak you out.
Yeah, sounds intense.
It doesn't have to be. We're talking maybe 3 to 5 minutes. Seriously.
Yeah.
Just focusing on your breath first thing before the chaos hits. It helps you set an intention for the day, grounds you before you dive in. It's amazing what that tiny pause can do.
3 to 5 minutes. Okay, even I can manage that. That feels doable, even on a crazy morning.
Totally doable. Ooh. And that little act can ripple through your whole day. Building on that, the material strongly recommends scheduling focus blocks. The structure they suggest is usually around 90 minutes of really intense focused work, followed by a proper break like 15-20 minutes.
Why 90 minutes specifically?
Well, the research seems to point to these being our brain's natural cycles, ultradian rhythms, they call them, periods of high focus followed by a genuine need for rest. If you try to just push through longer without a real break, you often get diminishing returns. You get fatigued, your focus degrades.
Right.
So working with these rhythms means you maintain intensity during the block, and then you actually recover during the break. It helps fight burnout and allows for consistent deep work day after day.
And the break needs to be a real break, right? Not just switching distractions like scrolling social media.
Exactly. The break is a functional part of the system, not a reward or a sign of weakness. And mindfulness doesn't stop there. It continues between those blocks.
Yeah.
During the transitions, instead of crashing from one task into the next, take a moment. Pause. Reset. The sources mention grounding techniques like the 5-4-3-2-1 method. Have you heard of that?
Vaguely, yeah. Remind me.
Super simple. Just consciously notice 5 things you can see, 4 things you can physically feel, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. It just yanks you right back into the present moment, shakes off the mental clutter from the last task. It gets you ready for the next thing, keeping that present moment awareness going throughout the day. It's incredibly powerful, not just for transitions, but for staying deeply engaged in the work itself.
That makes total sense. Like a little mental reboot instead of just grinding through task shifts. Okay, so setup done, daily rhythm established, we're in the zone. But what about when you hit the wall? We all do. The dreaded creative block, the days where inspiration is just gone, feeling completely stuck. What then?
Ah, yes, the messy, inevitable middle of the creative process.
Yeah.
This is where mindful management really shows its value. Self-awareness becomes your superpower here. One practice highlighted is tracking your energy patterns, but over a longer period. Not just day to day, but noticing trends.
Like patterns across the week or month.
Exactly. When do you consistently feel most inspired? What kinds of activities reliably drain your creative battery? What genuinely recharges you? Keeping a simple log or journal of this stuff gives you actual data. You move from guessing to knowing how you work best, and you can start to optimize based on that knowledge.
Becoming a bit of a scientist about your own creativity, observing the inputs and outputs. I like that.
It puts you back in control. And when you do hit those blocks, or the inevitable emotional hurdles, frustration, self-doubt, all that fun stuff, the material introduces a specific technique, the RAIN method. It's a way to engage with the difficulty mindfully instead of just fighting it or trying to ignore it.
RAIN. Okay, what does that stand for?
Right. R is for recognition.
Yeah.
Just noticing what's happening. Acknowledge the block, the feeling, okay, frustration is here. A is for allowance. Letting it be there for a moment without judging it or needing to fix it instantly. Just allowing. A is for investigation. Gently exploring it with curiosity. Not analyzing, but feeling.
Yeah.
Where is it in my body? What's the core fear or thought underneath it? And N is for nurture, offering yourself some kindness or compassion, like you would a friend who's struggling. Self-compassion.
Recognition, allowance, investigation, nurture. Wow, that feels fundamentally different. Way more compassionate than the usual approach of just beating yourself up for being stuck. Does it actually help you, move through the block?
It really does, because instead of getting tangled up in resistance or self-criticism, RAIN helps you process the experience. It creates space. Often, just that mindful attention allows the energy to shift or an insight to emerge. And hey, let's not forget the body in all this. The sources really hammer home the connection between your physical state and your creative flow.
Right, the mind-body thing.
Totally. Incorporating movement breaks is crucial. Getting up, moving around regularly. It doesn't have to be a full workout. A short walk outside, some stretching, even just dancing to a song for 3 minutes. It prevents that feeling of mental sludge, releases physical tension, and keeps you connected to your body. That connection is surprisingly vital for keeping creative energy moving.
It's so easy to forget you even have a body when you're deep in thought. Okay, so we've got the foundation, daily habits, tools for the rough patches. But how do we keep this going? Even a good system can lead to burnout if you don't maintain it. How do we make this mindful practice truly sustainable long-term?
That's such a critical point. Creative work is often a marathon. Preventing burnout has to be part of the strategy. This brings us to sustainable practice development. First off, those boundary checkpoints we talked about. That's not a one-and-done thing. It's an ongoing process.
Checking in regularly.
Yes, you need to periodically assess and adjust your boundaries. The digital ones, sure, but also your emotional boundaries around work. Are you saying yes too much? Taking on energy-draining projects. Protecting your creative energy from external pressures and internal tendencies to overcommit. That's vital for long-term creative health and integrity.
So it's like a constant negotiation with yourself, checking what's actually sustainable now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And maybe even more important, actively building in recovery rituals. These aren't treats or rewards. The material frames them as essential parts of the creative cycle itself.
Recovery rituals. Like what?
Intentional practices designed specifically to replenish your creative well. It could be spending time in nature, meditating, reading things purely for inspiration, immersing yourself in art or music, whatever truly fills your tank. The key is seeing these activities as part of the work, not an escape from it. They actively refuel the energy you spend during focused creation.
Treating recovery like necessary fuel for the creative engine, not just downtime. I really like that framing. It shifts the perspective.
It changes everything. And finally, on sustainability. You don't have to go it alone. Building support systems is incredibly valuable. Connecting with other mindful creators, finding or forming communities online or off where you can share the journey, the struggles, the wins.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It provides perspective, maybe some gentle accountability, and just crucial emotional support. Knowing others face similar challenges makes the whole thing feel less isolating. It really contributes to a balanced, sustainable path.
It's so easy to feel like you're the only one struggling sometimes. Finding that community connection. Yeah, I can see how vital that is. Okay. So we're working mindfully, aiming for sustainability. But how do you know if it's actually, working? How do you learn from this and keep refining your approach?
Great question. That leads us right into project review and integration. Basically becoming a student of your own creative process. A key practice here is conducting weekly reviews. Set aside some dedicated time, maybe Friday afternoon, maybe Monday morning, just reflect, look back at the week, your process, your energy management, your progress on projects. But here's the crucial part. Do it without judgment.
Oof. Reflecting without judging. That sounds hard, especially for creators focused on output.
It takes practice for sure, but the insights you gain from that kind of non-judgmental observation are gold. They reveal so much about your unique rhythm and patterns, and to capture those insights, the sources strongly suggest documenting them. Keep a creative journal, simple note file, whatever works for you. Track the patterns, the breakthroughs, the obstacles, the lessons you're learning from applying these practices.
Just writing it down helps clarify things, doesn't it?
Absolutely makes the invisible visible. And then, based on those documented insights and your weekly reflections, the final piece is being willing to adjust your strategies. This whole mindful approach, it's not meant to be a rigid set of rules you follow blindly. It's a flexible framework. You need to tweak it over time. Adapt it based on what you learn about yourself, your energy, your specific projects. Maybe 90-minute blocks aren't always right for you. Maybe you need more movement breaks some weeks. Flexibility and iteration are key to making it truly serve your creativity.
Right. It's a living practice, not a fixed system. Okay, this feels incredibly comprehensive. We've gone from the initial setup through daily habits, handling blocks, ensuring sustainability, learning, and refining. It really feels like a whole system for the creative life. But if we zoom out even further beyond just the current project, how does building this kind of mindful practice shape the bigger picture, the whole creative journey?
Yeah, that takes us to the final area the material touches on, legacy building. Because this practice isn't just about efficiency for the next deadline, it's about cultivating a long, meaningful, and fulfilling creative life. One aspect of that is actually sharing your knowledge. As you document your process, your insights, what works for you. Sharing that can contribute to the wider community of creators trying to work more mindfully.
So, teaching what you learn becomes part of it.
It can, yeah. It helps others, and it also solidifies your own understanding. And thinking really long-term, the idea of intentional periods of deep rest comes up, planning sabbaticals.
Like actual time off.
Deliberate time away from the usual work routine. For deeper reflection, learning new things, focused creative exploration without deadlines. The material presents these not as luxuries, but almost as necessities for maintaining creative vitality over decades. They prevent burnout at a deeper level, and often provide the fresh perspective needed for real innovation.
That feels like a serious commitment to the long game of a creative career.
It really is. And finally, woven through all this is the encouragement to regularly evaluate the impact of your work. To step back and ask, how does what I'm creating align with my core values? What kind of contribution do I want to make? How does this work feel meaningful to me? Mindful practice helps keep you connected to your purpose, ensuring your output isn't just stuff, but work that resonates and builds the legacy you actually intend.
Wow. So pulling all these threads together, the environment, the daily habits, the tools for challenges, the focus on sustainability, the review process, and that bigger picture of legacy, it's clear this is way more than just a productivity system.
It's really a holistic way to engage with your creative life.
Yeah.
And the transformative part, I think, is that it's not about just trying to do more in that relentless hustle culture way. It's fundamentally about being more present, more intentional, more aware. By transforming the process, you transform the experience, and ultimately you transform yourself as the creator.
It's like the quiet, often unseen foundation that allows the really exciting, visible parts of creativity to actually show up consistently and sustainably.
That's a great way to put it. It's overlooked because it's the groundwork, not the flashy result. But it supports everything else.
Well, this has been an incredibly insightful deep dive. It lays out such a clear, actionable path away from that feeling of chaos and the potential burnout that plagues so many creative people.
Yeah, it offers a framework for hopefully more consistency, more resilience, and maybe even more joy in the whole creative journey.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive. The big takeaway we've explored today is that integrating mindful planning, intentional habits, and sustainable practices isn't about limiting your creativity. Instead, it's this powerful, often overlooked framework that actually enables your best work while protecting your well-being for the long run. And maybe here's a final thought to carry with you. Just consider for a moment how much of your creative energy might currently be leaking away. Not just to the obvious external distractions, but maybe to an unsustainable, reactive way of working. What could fundamentally shift for you in your work and your life if you consciously decided to prioritize your energy, your presence, and your own sustainability as essential parts of your creative practice itself? What might that mean for your work today and for the legacy you hope to build? Thanks for exploring all this with us. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.